Hi everyone, Annette from Aussierebornsupplies here and Miracle Babies Newborn Nursery. Today I'm going to do a requested video from one of my YouTube subscribers on how to do painted hair. Now I want to say straight up front that I am not the best person at painting hair. I just do it very basic, and the person has said that they didn't mind, they just wanted a little bit of an idea of what to do. So I've got two babies here at the moment that Jasmine and I have been working on for Pay It Forward Reborns, and I'm going to do painted hair on both of them. So I thought, why not, while I'm doing them, show you how I do it. Of course, in a nursing home, the elderly really don't want to have to look after hair, so that's why I'm doing painted hair. It still looks good in the end, but I mean, obviously we've all seen those beautiful babies that have painted hair that you just want to touch. You think that there's very fine, intricate, beautiful hair there. I'm not that one, but it does look nice. It still looks nice in the end. So I thought we would work together and you could see how I do it and hopefully get your own way of doing it from there. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a few little bits and bobs here. Of course, I've got the heads. I've got my odorless solvent. I've got some thinning medium. I've got some 3D texture medium, and I've got my colours. So I'm doing a darky brown to light brown. So I'm using black, burnt umber. I've got some Flash 03 here, some white, and some brown. So it really doesn't matter what sort of colours you're going for. You know, just, I mean it does, but get the colours that surround that sort of look. So I'll be starting with a darker brown. And then with the black and the white, they're just going to be like highlights and things, so you work with that. So I'm totally out of paper towel at the moment. This is my last piece, so I'm going to use that to wipe with. But I'm just going to, I've got a cloth nappy here so I can wash that. So I'm just going to put that down. And I know everyone doesn't necessarily want to see me the whole time, so I'm going to get a better view of all this in a moment. Just get all that there. So we're good to go. Now with your dishes, I've got a few dishes here because I'm going to be making up a few colours. And sometimes, you know, you get towards the end of painting your hair, but you want to use the first colour again. So I suggest have a few little dishes ready, and then you can just keep them and use them at the end if you want. Now with brushes, I've got a bit of an assortment of brushes here. These are my two main brushes that I use in the start of painting hair. Now these, just go to your local you know, $2 shop or something and just get some cheap paint brushes. I mean, obviously if they're cheap and nasty, some of the hairs are going to fall out, but we can literally pick them out, so it's not too much. But one of the things I do with this brush, and you should be able to see it there, is it's like I've cut some of the bristles off. So all I've got is like a half. I've like literally cut half of it off there and then left some bristles here. I did the same on this one. It's got finer bristles. I probably won't even use that, but this is the main one I use. I've got a fan brush. Once again, it's not more of a common one I use. Sometimes I just use it to flow the hair through, not necessarily painting with it. Just more of a flow and blend sort of brush. And then I've got all of my, like I've got script liners and lip liners here. So the script liners are going to be really good for doing those intricate hairs around the forehead and the ears here. And then also for just some nice flowy bits in it. So let's get started, shall we? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start. I've got just a little dish here. And I like the shallowness of this one, so, and this is going to be sort of my base colour, so I'm going to use the shallow one. Just got some burnt umber here. Well loved. So I'm just going to get my normal paintbrush that I would do to get my paint out. And just, I probably should put a little dab of odorless thinners in there. So I'm just going to get a tiny little 1/8 of a tablespoon, because I really don't want much odorless thinners in there, if any. Like it's just up, just like a touch. I'm going to put that back. It's sort of spilt over. Good job. Okay, so there's a little bit in there now. Of course, you probably can just see it swirling around there. So of course I want a much thicker look. I don't, you know, like when you're normally painting babies, your look is more translucent. Well, with this, we want it to be thicker, not as translucent. So making a thick, see how that's getting a lot better. And of course, as I'm going, if it's not dark enough for me, I can just add to it. So it's simple. So I'm just going to leave that like that for the moment and grab my first baby. So this baby has had some rooting done at some other time and has got all these little holes left in the hair. So what I'm going to do is try to cover that. And in the end, if it's not covered, then I will simply root some hair into it. So I'm just going to use my script liner first. And what I want to do is I want to do some fine, intricate lines around the ears and forehead. So let's do that. Hopefully everyone gets to see what I'm doing because I'm not looking at the camera while I'm working. So just doing some fine, flowing hairs. And some on the other side as well. The best way to do fine flowing hairs is to be barely touching the kit itself. So instead of pushing down hard on your brush, you're literally just softly touching, like you're hardly touching it. Otherwise it forms a real like looking line. So just some fine hairs there and fine hairs there. And then we just want to do some fine hairs along the forehead. I'm lucky with this one because it's been painted in the way I can see where I want my forehead to go. But generally it would be something like around there. Like I'll just do a line here now. And down. See that? Around there and like down. Sometimes you can look at baby pictures on the internet or even your own hairline and just go by that. Okay, so my favourite script brush here, it's just like I've told you before, it's just a cheap one, a cheap brush that I've bought from China, but I find it just flows really, really well. So let me just do some of these fine hairs around the forehead. You can probably barely see them there. And that's okay because baby's hair at the front is very fine. Now hopefully I'm still letting you guys see what I'm doing. But I think you all get the idea that I'm just trying to do some fine hair around the forehead. So let me do that and I'll show you how it looks when I've done it. Okay, so I've just finished the hairline of the two babies. Just so it's going around near their ears there. And this is the second baby. So very hard to see. They're very fine lines. Don't think I can get too close there, but you can get the idea of how I have done that. Just fine lines as babies do along the forehead. So now let's start with the base of the hair. Okay, now of course that was the colour I wanted to use for my base, but I want it to be a little bit thicker, showing the darkness. So I'm going to mix in another lot of it. It'll just make this paint thicker and hopefully give it that sort of colour I want. because I want it to be like that colour. Okay, so with this one I'm using my brush I was talking about before that I have cut the end off, as you can see there. Okay, so just literally brush in there so it's on your brush like this. A little bit more. And what we're going to do is I'm going to make a hook at the back where it's going to be my little crown, the baby's crown. So hooking in at the back like this. So just hopefully everyone can see what I'm doing, because while I'm doing it I'm not watching the camera. So I'm making a hook like that, and what I'm going to do with that hook is I'm going to bring it all the way around to the front of the head in an S shape. See how that has come? I'll just fill that in a little bit better. Don't worry about if you've got thick lines. Don't worry about it. It's more of a base and it'll just form what we need. So I'll just show you that a bit closer. So a hook to the front of the head. Back of the head is a hook. Now I'll just put a little bit more colour in that so you can actually see. And you just want to stop just before, well, just kind of on where you've started that hairline. So we're looking at a bit of a question mark there. Okay, so get some more paint on your brush, and now we're going to work within that hook. So I'm going to start sort of in at that point of the hook, and then I'm going to hook, like, you've got to give it a bit of what can I say, a bit of body to it. So don't just do a straight line, you want to sort of curve it, wave it. So hook in here, waving it out like an S and back behind the ears. So let's do that now. The worst part about when you cut the brushes like this is it does sometimes make it hard to get onto the scalp. Okay. Didn't do a perfect job about saying my little line, did I? A little wave. But as you can see, I've started in that hook, come down in a slight S to the side. Now I want to do the same thing on the other side, but what I'm wanting to do here is I want to get into the back of my swirl here, and I want to hook around and come to the back of that ear. So we'll do that. You see that? Hooked in around to the back of the ear. Just make that a little bit more thicker. So there we go there. So there's 3 points there. A hook which began, hooked around and went to the front of the head. Then we interlocked with that first hook and took it back behind the first ear onto the opposite side. And then we interlocked with those two hooks coming around the bottom and to around the back of the ear. So now what you want to do is fill in those spaces. So still with your paint, just just go with the flow. So I'll get with that in a minute for you. I'm going to stop the camera and do that point part on this little baby here. Okay, so now as you can imagine, no two swirls are necessarily going to be the same. This little baby has a bump on its head. You can just see there. It's one of the donation babies for Pay It Forward. So I was trying to work a bit around that bump there so it's not as noticeable. But as you can see, I've just come around in those 3 hooks that I was talking about. Now, just watch the ears at all times, that you don't scrape your brush along the back of the ear and then leave the ear painted from behind. So that's basically what you want to see for your first part. And then, like I said, we need to fill those gaps in. So you just get your brush like you were before and just literally go with the flow. Just going with the flow. All the way around the head. Now don't worry too much if there isn't some parts filled in. They will be filled in, believe me. So as you can see the back of the head there. It's kind of got that interesting blend to it. Probably need to mix a little bit more paint, I do. Around the ears is challenging. You should have like a cotton tip here with a little bit of odorless thinners to dip it into so you can clean up any mess as you go. Hoping everyone can still see that all right. Big shout out today to my grandmother. She is 90 years old today. Unfortunately not with us. She passed away giving birth to my mother when she was 20 years old. But still in my heart, hugely in my heart. And still in my thoughts today that she would have been 90. Unbelievable, isn't it? So hopefully everyone can see and get the idea of what I'm doing there. I'm just filling in those gaps. Just filling in the gaps. But not like going overboard, because I'm going to do some more. So as you can see, we've got like a flowing hair look all the way around. Don't mind about those thicker lines. It's just the character. It's just the character of the hairstyle. Okay, so I'm going to go and do the baby number 2's head. Get some more paint going and we'll start on the next one. Okay, so I have finished both of their heads, as you can see. And the second baby. Okay, so you get the idea. So now we want to mix in a lighter tone so we can get some toning in that. I'm actually going to mix in a little bit of Flesh 03 on this time and see how that goes. The best bit about this is if I don't really like it, like I can still add to it. Like I can go over it again darker with some darker tones and everything. So it works well. Okay, so I'm gonna get a lot on my brush. Mix that in now. And the silly thing about what I just did is if I want to go back and use that darker tone, I can't use it again because I've just made it lighter. But it doesn't matter because I knew that was just the burnt umber. So that's all right anyway. I can remake that very easily. So this is just sort of going down a shade really. Okay, so I'll see how that goes. And what I'm going to do with this, don't forget to use your little cotton tip with some odorless thinners on around the ears if you've got any, like on the ears and that. Okay, so check my hands are clean too before I grab in faces and stuff. Okay, so still using that brush, and what I'm going to do now is literally go over everything I started with. So remember we started with the hook, so going over the hook. And just following the lines. From the hook we went to the second hook and down behind the ear. I really hope I'm getting in so everyone can see. And the third hook coming back down behind that ear. Now this is actually not a, hasn't come up lighter, it's come up a little bit darker actually. Whoops, but that's okay. Now see how I've just got that big blob there of thickness? What I can do is I can get my like odorless thinner ear tip and I can just go over that quickly like that. Nothing major because we don't want to remove too much, but then just flow through it again. There's going to be other layers over the top of that, so it's no huge deal. Okay, so now that I've gone over the 3 starter bits, I'm just going to go over the rest of the kit, filling in as I go like I did before. Nothing major, we don't need thick paint. We're just getting a bit of definition with a different colour in here. When you're coming down to the base of the neck, try to let it flow and flick away. So we're going to form a hairline there. And then across the front. Remember, this is just to get some definition in there with some other colour. So, and when you're happy with what you've done there, just let him sit to dry. And I'll go and do the second one. Now with the baking of this one, I would suggest doing a baking now. So put it in the, once it's dried, put it in the oven for your 8 to 10 minutes. I'm actually not going to bake these boys. They're actually boys. I'm not going to bake them yet because they've both got issues. Him with the all the rooting he's already had in the hair has actually weakened his head up the top, and this little guy with his little bump, I'm afraid of it going too much out of shape. So I'm going to do a couple more layers before I bake them, just so I can minimize the baking I'm going to do. But I would suggest on this one, go and bake them. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, so I've got a bit of odorless thinners in my second jar, and now it's best to go back to a darker colour again. I'm going to use some Mars Black, and I'm just going to use the brush that I just used to mix the previous paint. So you'll see that's there, because I don't want it to be black, but I want it to be dark. So get some of that off there. So hopefully your first bake went fine. Just mixing this together. It's going really good. Now by now you should like at least see a look of lining in your head, fine lining. So you'll see some really fine lines come in there. So what I'm doing now is with my darker colour, now as you can see I've already got some thick lines in there, but we want to get like a few more in the areas where it might be a bit thin. So I'm just going to get some paint there and just some thicker lines. So it's best to use like sort of the side of your brush and just get some thicker lines in there. See how that's come in thicker? Just randomly, not everywhere. Okay, can you see that? Just some nice thick lines in there. I'll do it with the second one as well. So you can see how I'm doing that as well. Just some thick lines. Don't forget too, if you're not happy with a certain layer, probably we should have said this earlier, don't bake it in until you're happy with it, because you can, you know, wipe it away and start again. Okay, so I'm happy with that. You can at least see how they're going. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is a light one, something like a Flesh 07 or a Flesh 08. So I'm just going to go get that paint out and then we'll start mixing that one. Okay, so just cleaning out that brush that I've been using. And now we're going to do the Flesh 08 like I talked about. So I've got my Flesh 08 here. I have to get another brush to mix that in. Got a little bit of odorless thinners in my bowl, and now I just want to make the same sort of thick consistency but using the Flesh 08. So I might have to use a little bit of odorless thinners in there, so get that in. We're getting there. That's the main thing. So what this is going to do, you might be thinking, what? They're like so light, but it's going to highlight it. Now, like I got out my earlier colours, you know, you can use any you want. Like if you wanted to go like a white mixed into the brown to make it like a super light brown, you can do that. I'm just going to go with the Flesh 08 on this occasion. Now, if you're wondering how I learnt about this, there was a page on the internet that was showing people how to do it. I mean, years ago, I don't even know if it's still available, but I followed that and I found, like I said, I don't think I'm really great at it, but I found like it gave like the kind of way I wanted it to look. So I was happy with it. It's fine. She does quite good work. I just can't remember the website or anything, I'm sorry, but this is like how she did it, and I sort of jotted down some details over time so I wouldn't forget. So like we did before, hopefully this isn't too thin. I don't want it the consistency to be too thin because I want it to be able to flow on nicely. So we're just going to follow all the places that we did before. But don't, like once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. As you can see, those little light marks there. It's just going to give it a little bit of a highlight. We're still going to be going over this with some, darker again. Now, if at any time you find like you've got some spaces that you're not quite happy about, let's say I've got like a little space here or something, you can see, just get your script liner and literally just paint in that with your script liner. Now, as you see, the lines are a bit thicker how I've done it on that. You can try to make them thinner if you like. I am not too concerned because I know I'm going to go over that with a darker look again. And that will all blend nicely anyway, once the darker colours go over. So you can see that in comparison to that one. It's just giving it a bit more definition. So I'm going to go and do the second head again, and then we'll get on to the next. Okay, so I did a bake on that one, and as you can see, the light flesh 08 through there in stripes, like type of stripes. So now I'm going to go over the head one more time with the first brown I used, which was just the burnt umber, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing all over again. And then after that, I'm going to start working with my script liner and my 3D texture medium, where I'm going to add some fine lines through it, and the 3D texture medium will also give it that feel that the baby has hair. So I've remixed the first one again, and we're gonna go with that. So just grab it, and like I said again, just go with the original lining we had. And the best thing also about this too is you can kind of make it up as you go. So if you're finding that you need to have a little bit more like thickness and depth of colour, then go over it again and again and again, as long as you like it, just so you can get that feel of hair in there. Even like I think getting the pure black and doing through a line of black would be nice as well. So like you can see I'm doing there, just go around the entire head again, following the same flow that you have been. I don't know if you can see the difference there. It's now starting to blend in a little bit more. You can't see that white, but if you were to look at it from here, the white now turns into like, it looks like little fine hairs. Okay, so just keep doing that, and then we'll start on some 3D texture. Okay, so now before I start on my 3D texture, I'm just going to use like the last color I used, the darkest brown, and I've got a really long script liner here. You can use your general script liner. I'm just going to do some lines through the hair, especially if you've got like from week before where we did the flesh 08. You might want to like put a line through some of them to thinnen them, to make them thinner again. But this is just going to do a few lines through it. I did it on this guy here. So this will now just sort of break up a little bit, so we've got thin and thick lines. The thick lines, like to the naked eye, just looks like fuzz, like a bit of peach fuzz underneath. It doesn't necessarily look like thick lines. But like I said, I'm just going to do some of these lines all over the head, just a little bit more definition before we do the 3D texture. And probably even after the 3D texture, I might come back and do a whole new layer about this again. Like I said before, you don't need to worry too much if you're finding that it's not like hairy enough for you, if you know what I mean, like you don't think it looks like hair. Just keep adding to it. It's like the more you add, the better it's going to be. I remember the first time I did this and I used some black and some brown and I went on my light tone as well. The more I added, the more I could see that it had more of a realistic tone. So don't be afraid to add more. And down around the back of the hairline, where your thicker brush might not have gotten into a hairline, you can just, with this fine brush now, add some nice, really fine lines there. And we will obviously go over that again to soften the lines to give it more of an effect. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing okay there. And from a distance you can see that I've got my hair swirl on both babies. This one looks like he's got a bit of thicker looking hair than this one, but I'm going to keep adding to it. So right now, if you want to keep adding to yours, just pause the video and add as much as you like, and then you can start it up again when you're ready to do your 3D texture. We're going really well. Okay, so let's get to getting on this three-dimensional texture. So it's a 3D texture medium that I sell on my website and eBay. So we'll just get some of that. I'm just going to, probably unprepared at the moment, don't have anything really to grab it, so I'm just going to use the end of my tweezers there just to get a little bit out, about the size of a pea. Just going to put that in there. And then you're going to mix it with the colour you want. So I'm just going to actually use a little bit of just the brown that I was using before, and it has the odorless thinners mixed in there, but that should be fine to mix in with that too. I just don't want, I'm just a big person for not wasting. So as you can see the consistency there. And now I've just got to get my script liner, and I'll use my ultra long one like I've got. I really like this one. It's just got a really great flow through technique. So just rub it through the 3D and literally lines anywhere you want. Anywhere and everywhere. So the best thing about this is that as you're going, you can just keep building it up. So after I've done the lines everywhere I'd like to, it's a good idea to then bake it and set it in place, and then do it again and do it again and do it again, and it'll sort of build up, and you'll have this lovely feel, as you can feel like little lines of hair. So when someone was to rub their hand over it, they would actually think there's hairs there. So go ahead. Now the 3D texture medium isn't 100% important. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. Just get some lines in there, get some lining in there, fill in your gaps where you've got gaps. Like you can see how I've got gaps here. Now, when you do look at a newborn, sometimes you'll find areas where have light amounts of hair, and then other places that have darker, thicker amounts of hair. So just do it to how you want. After we've gone through, we've done all the 3D lining with the 3D texture, then we're going to just touch up some of the fine lines towards the front and side of the hair there and towards the back, and then we'll be done. Like, so good. Already we'll be done. So I'm just going to do all my 3D lines now and bake them as I go, and then I'll come back in for the last part, which will just be the fine lines towards the front of the head. Okay. Okay, so what I've done now is I've finished the head the best that I can. You can see his little lump there. So I have gone over it with my three-dimensional script liners all the way around. I've done that about 3 times, and then I've done one last layer at the end to really sort of seal the deal and seal all my colour in. Okay, so now we just want to work on just some more hairs around the forehead and the back of the head and the sides. So it's just like we did exactly in the beginning. So just get your script liner and just very fine. You might need to sort of dab it out so there's not too much on, because we want them to be very fine. Very, very fine. So basically just going around the whole head with the fine lines. Just sort of blending it in. So like in some of the spots there it might be hard to see, but it looks like you know, they're just sort of random lines coming out. So just trying to get that blend in look, so they all flow evenly together. And then just towards the forehead. And even like sometimes you can see on a baby's head, they might have some tiny fine lines here and there. Now you will hardly be able to see them, but just a little bit. And you can do those as well. Just nice fine hairs. So go all the way around the hairline, back to the other side, and then also towards the back. Just maybe bringing in down into like a duck's tail type of thing. Just some really nice fine lines. So I'm going to do my two, and then I will take pictures of all the way around so you can see it. Everyone loved my mess here, because don't forget I ran out of paper towels. So thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful to you guys. Just remember, I said this is just a simple, basic, easy way to do it. It's not super professional, but it gives a look, and it looks good. And for these babies which are going to nursing homes, it'll be great because the patients won't have to worry about caretaking their hair or anything of the sort. They'll just be able to simply look after it, give it a cuddle, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to finish that, and I'll put the pictures at the end. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk soon. Bye.